you all to this press conference. Today, it's quite historic. As much as we've been pushing for the Universal Basic Education Amendment. So maybe I would pause. I have a press statement, but honestly, I would not deliver any press statement. I would just speak from the heart, because this is dear to all of us. And we would not do the traditional way of speaking from a paper. My colleagues will share the statements, but I would just tell you how I feel about issues, particularly as it affects children in the education sector. So for the record, my name is Hamzat Lawal. I'm the Chief Executive of Connected Development. Today, we brought together partners to address some salient issues. It is quite sad and unfortunate that up to this moment, the House of Representatives is yet to pass the Universal Basic Education Amendment Act. We all know that now is a political campaign period. And as the delay continues, it means that Nigeria might not meet the Sustainable Development Goal we signed upon. And if that happens, it means that a lot of out-of-school children would not get timely and adequate education. Today also, we're going into a partnership between Connected Development and PPDC. My colleague will talk more about this partnership. And I'm quite excited about this because as much as we're saying that the investment in education is not much, we're already putting in place mechanism to track the existing investment that we have to ensure that the people at the grassroots get better service delivery. But then again, we know when we talk about pop culture, a lot of people only know about dancing and entertainment. But we're taking it to the next level. Today, we're going into a partnership with Leo Da Silva. A lot of you know him, that he's an ex-housemate in Big Brother. But then Leo is an active citizen, and he's passionate about issues that affect people at the grassroots. And we're leveraging on his network to ensure that we use pop culture to mobilize particularly young people to bring forward issues that affect them. When we go around the country, a lot of primary healthcare centers are dilapidated. But then when you look at the budget appropriation, you see millions of naira. And then if you look at international resources that go to this primary healthcare sector, it's millions of dollars. But then what is obtainable on the ground is not commensurate to what we have on paper. So Leo would champion that cause and ensure that we're able to mobilize young people, but not just mobilizing young Nigerians, but also mobilizing his peers in the pop culture, so that celebrities can now start taking issues that affect them and are dear to their heart. I would want to stop now so that my colleagues on the panel would make their statement, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, thank you, Hamzi. We would...
Intro, I am from Flexisa Foundation. We recently started an advocacy program for out-of-school children, and Hafsat is one of those kids we've identified from our adoptions at Ruga community. So Hafsat has completed primary school and wants to go into secondary school, and she has something to tell you and the government. So Hafsat, go ahead. Can you bring it closer? Speak to them, Hafsat. Speak. No, you can sit.
My name is Hafsat Adamu. I am here to talk about primaries. I am here to talk about school. I finished my primary school and to enter secondary school. My mom said that she don't have the money to put me in secondary school. I can help her to save Friday. No, I said I cannot save Friday. No, I want to be in school. Please, government, provide free education for us because I can be a doctor. Thank you.
It's a good place to put our hands together for. I mean, a whole lot of us sitting in this. You'd not imagine children from primary school are finding it difficult to go into junior secondary school, which is supposed to be free. You know, so you'll bear with me that there are hidden charges that are still collected despite the claim for free education. I'll just quickly move over to the CEO of PPDC, you know, for her remarks.
It's lovely to see everyone here. It's especially important given the context why we are here. It's a social welfare thing. That's the reason why we're here. for anyone who doesn't know PPDC, PPDC means Public and Private Development Center. We're interested in citizens' participation, getting people involved in public expenditure. And we do this especially around public procurement. So a lot of, and I'm glad that Hamza talked about speaking from the heart, and that's where I will go to, because a lot of 99% of the funds that are generated in Nigeria through taxation, through minerals, goes through the public procurement process. And if you look at the budget, a lot of money is set aside for education, for health, which are key areas, key sectors that affect us as citizens of the country. But then again, you ask yourself, with all these billions that's set aside for education, for health, how many of it translates to actual infrastructure at the ground level? How many of it can we say that, for example, the budget says 142 billion, that was in 2017, for capital project. This is capital, not recurrent, for education. By the time you say I'm building a school for 14 million, divide 142 billion by 14 million, how many schools do you think would be on the ground? But when you go around the country, and that is what we do, we track projects, when you go around the country, you find schools that do not have roof. You find schools without tables or chairs. You find schools that do not have any learning material. And you're asking yourself, what's the purpose for the funds that we spend every year for education? What roles do the citizens play? Because we're sitting here because we are privileged. We have education, we went through primary school, we went through secondary school, we went through university. But what is the cost for us, for children who do not have the same kind of privilege that we have? Are we breeding out of school children? Are we breeding children that would hawk or sell things and be taken advantage of by people like us? Are we breeding criminals? Are we breeding children that will be used for acts of domestic terrorism? Who are we breeding? Countries outside Nigeria, some of the countries like Greece, are exporting human capital as part of their export materials. People that are educated, they're moving to other countries, they're bringing in their brains, their resources. How many of us here can say Nigeria is exporting capital that is human? It's something we need to think about. It's something we need to take back, take our networks back, go back home, ask ourselves, how do we connect what we know here and connect our citizens and have them rise up? Because Nigeria, we're a lot. How do we remove that citizens' apathy? How do we get more people to speak out? And especially since 2019 is around the corner, our right is our vote. Our vote is our right. However, we choose to say that. How do we get people to realize that power that we have to vote our electorates into power can also translate into better education, can also translate to better healthcare facility, can also translate into better power sector? It's something we need to sit down, think about, and I'm happy that Code and PPDC are working together to try and bridge that gap. And I'm glad that Leo is on this table, using the pop culture we have, using celebrities who are also citizens of this country. How can we garner support and push this movement forward? Thank you all for coming.
Now, very quickly, I'm still going to go back to you for you to just give your own press statement. I know this was an intervention from you, so your press statement. Yeah. Should we skip?
Yes.
Or you just want them to distribute her press statement?
Okay.
Yes,
fine?
we can do that.
Okay.
Kiki James, and I will be speaking from the heart. I am Nigerian. I have no tribe, no state. I am simply Nigerian. I am also a Gumukai champion for Malala Fund. Malala Fund supports our education project, and the aim is to promote 12 years of education. I came back to Nigeria in 2010 because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a sustainable difference. And the charity that I work for, ACE Charity, stands for Assisting, Caring and Empowering African Lives. I realized that you can't empower anybody without educating them. You can't teach somebody to look after themselves through healthcare without educating them. And I am hoping that from this press conference we're having, Leo will make education go viral. The benefit of education, not just the fact that we're talking about education. We need to make education fun. It's very important. We set up libraries in Nigeria because we tried. I used to think that trying to change policies in Nigeria was not important. I didn't want to get involved with the policymakers. I didn't want to get involved with the government. I wasn't interested in all the politics. But after however many years of being in this country, setting up libraries for children, our libraries have computers in them. They don't just have computers. We've taken up the wrap off the computers. There's a generator. There's a generator in each school where we have libraries because we power the computers. The children learn how to use computers, how to use Microsoft packages, and how to read. But not just to read, they need to learn to read with understanding. Because you can't go through education and not be able to write your name, or if I'm asking you, how do I get to so-so-so address? You tell me turn left, right, and left. No, we need to go beyond that. But being frustrated and setting up the libraries with a great team that I work with, it's not enough. I'm sat on this table here today because policies matter. We need to amend the universal basic education right to 12 years. How do you make it possible for children to go to secondary school and stop at GSS 3 on purpose? That is a setup. That is almost telling you that I am intentionally creating a lot of out-of-school children on purpose. On purpose. So what do you expect them to do? So we are raising criminals. We're teaching them to be criminals. And then we worry, Nigeria is becoming so and so. When our government doesn't allow for free, safe, and quality education for 12 years. So I'm sat here today hoping we can all work together, raise awareness about this, and promote 12 years of education for our children. Because the amount of geniuses we have in Nigeria, we need to find them. We need to educate them. We need to teach them to learn and lead without fear. Thank you.
You're definitely a champion we have here today. You know, she's still looking at the future of going back into junior secondary school. You know, not even talking about the senior secondary school where we have the 3 years, you know, added to push it to 9 years. Very quickly, I'm just going to go back to Hamza to continue from here. Then we'll open up the floor for everybody in the room who has an intervention or the other to, I mean, just bring in 1 minute, you know, intervention. I wouldn't want us to do the round, so if we just have that, you can just signal to me. I would, okay, my colleague is in there, Lucy. You could just signal to her, you know, for her to get your name down, you know, so that you can make your intervention. But because of our time, not more than 1 minute, you know, intervention.
Leo Da Silva. Follow the Money is an African movement that started in 2012. And today we're in the Gambia, we're in Kenya, of course we're in Nigeria, and we're expanding. And we're hoping that as soon as we go into this partnership with Leo, he would help in ensuring that we mobilize a lot of citizens, not just in Nigeria, but across the African continent, in ensuring that they're able to hold their government accountable, particularly on public spending. On this note, before I call Leo to speak as a connected development ambassador, I would assent to his contract and give you to assent, and then you can speak.
Yeah, but before I do anything, I'd like to call my lawyer and and my very close friend Peter. Can we do this?
Where's my own lawyer?
Sign here.
Okay.
Initial each page. I'll sign as well. Initial each page.
All right. So.
When you introduce yourself, ambassador.
Yeah. Hi. A lot of you might know me as the businessman on Big Brother, but I'd like to tell you that my name is Leo Babarinde Da Silva, and this, for me, is one of the greatest partnerships that I've ever had in my life, because it's going to encapsulate the thing that I'm most passionate about, which is education. Everyone knows I'm passionate about empowerment, but I feel education is the greatest form of empowerment, because education is what gives you the resources to actually feed yourself. And not just feed yourself physically, feed your mind as well. So when it comes to my role in education, you know, I grew up in a very, 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 very different way from the way people perceive me. I have been very, very close to the grassroots all my life because, you know, I was raised by a single mom. And that's because, you know, she had very good education and she was able to send her brothers and sister to very good schools as well. And they've been independent. You know, they don't need to rely on her. You know, God rest her soul. And I don't need to rely on her as well. You understand? So educating the girl child, like my mom, has been able to cause a ripple effect for a generational change for our family. So it's very important that we focus on educating our young champion. You know, the young girl that spoke here is very, very important. We look at the statistics from UNESCO. You know, I had a lot of materials to prepare for this. You know, we see 53% of girls not in school. That is appalling. It's absolutely appalling. We look at just 2% of, you know, girls and guys just finish in the Northeast, where we have a lot of insurgency, just finishing school. They do not know their right from their wrong. That's why a lot of these things happen. We don't want to start getting political, but this is just a fact. If we look at it, you're not going to come to Lagos and tell someone that as educated as me to wear a bomb. It's not possible. There's no amount of thing you can tell me that is going to benefit me. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to keep feeding our people's minds. We need to hold our government responsible. We need to tell them that, see, our policy making is not enough. Our population keeps growing, our education fund keeps reducing. It doesn't make any sense. So that is why I'm here. That is why I'm going to be championing this movement. I am extremely passionate about it. I'm going to be getting hands-on. Social media is no more enough. You know, we're talking about people mobilizing. I'm not going to be mobilizing on social media. I'm part of my grassroots movement. I am going to be mobilizing on ground. I'm going to be part of these rural communities. I'm going to be getting involved. So that is why I'm here. That is what I am meant to be doing. So I want to thank Code. I want to thank Hamza. I want to thank the whole team for getting me involved in this. And I hope this is going to be part of our nation's history. Thank you so much. Just call me Leo. Ambassador Leo. All right, thank you so much.
For the introduction. Very quickly, I'm just going to follow the theme of speaking to the heart as well. The lady that was sat next to me is one of the ladies we had adopted from the Ruga community here in Abuja. And you'll be astonished if you go to that place and see the kind of education they are going through, to see the kind of conditions that these kids are studying in. I mean, it's very, very informal, you know, and this is why our own foundation, Flexisa Foundation, are into trying to make this better. So we've gone into a partnership now with Code. We're trying to gather data. We're trying to gather robust information, because if you look at what we have out there, today they'll tell you it's 10.6 million, today they'll tell you it's 8.6 million. I mean, there's so much discrepancy in that data. And to be honest, that data is just a figure. What we know out there in reality is that there are kids out there that are not in school. So given these interventions, we're very proud to work with Code and to be able to make this happen. And we urge the National Assembly, especially the House, to pass this amendment of the UBEC Act to ensure that, you know, older kids are also be able to have access to this free education. Thank you very much for your time.
It's really a privilege to be in your presence. As earlier introduced, my name is Sika. I'm the project officer at H Charity, and the CEO has pretty much spoken for both of us, but since we're speaking from the heart, so let's hear my heart. I've been privileged to work with, you know, a lot of girls, young women, and I recognize the genders, by the way. This is not about gender, but I recognize the genders, male and female. But there's a special spot here for me when it comes to the girl child, because I believe the girl child, and I'm sure we all know that, girl children are usually at the receiving end of all societal ills. So it cannot be more key for us to, you know, put more effort into educating girls. Michelle Obama once said that at the core of every flourishing nation is an educated woman, an empowered woman. And I've been to places, I've seen young girls, I've seen women, and one thing that's common among all these girls, whether educated or not, is that they have fire within them. They see themselves as the future, but in one way or the other, we have not given them the right tools and the right opportunity to just go out and live out their lives and make a better society. The truth is, Nigeria would not be anywhere tomorrow if we do not educate girl children and also empower them. So we at Age Charity, we have different interventions which are geared towards women. We establish fully functional libraries in government primary schools to teach them literacy, numeracy, ICT skills. We run the business empowerment program for women where we empower women with sewing skills, business management skills. We also do Girls Who Code where we teach girls how to program because the future is digital. So I just want all of us, it's a good thing that we're here and I believe that we're going to work together towards, education, especially girl child education because, well, the future is female.
Thank you.
My name is I work with the Civil Society Action Coalition Education for all Sakifa. I won't go into introducing Sakifa or whatever, but I want to say this, that I think Leo has really taken the words out of my mouth. What we really need to do now is we need to start doing mobilization. We'll be speaking on social media, we'll be talking, we'll be writing papers, we'll be communicating with people, but we have not heard from the particular group that is involved now that has refused to pass this amendment, that has refused to amend this act. We need to make them talk. We need to ask them questions. We need to ask them why are they delaying it? Why don't they want to pass it? So what I'm saying is that we need to hear from Honorable Yakubu Dogara that why is he trying to delay or why is he trying to hamper this movement? Because this is a movement that will favor all of us, even his own children. Mind you, if we refuse to intervene right now, the next generation that will come will start asking us questions. Somebody will ask you, Daddy, where were you when all these things were going wrong and you didn't make any statement? So I am calling on all of us, the media, everybody, civil society, citizens, let us rise up to our responsibility. Let us make the government to make a statement. Why are they refusing to pass this amendment? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Although I didn't take much of our time, one of it is we focus on girl child education and we focus on child rights. We carried out projects on child rights advocacy. So basically we are making use of our media channels to ensure that we carry out adequate advocacy on the importance of the child rights bill. Because that's the implementation of the child rights bill at state level. So the fact is that we have currently 25 states that have passed the child rights bill, and some of them are even yet to implement the child rights bill. And one of the things that is contained in the child rights bill, as we all know, is education and the importance of education. Although as it is, the status is still the 9 years of free and compulsory education for every Nigerian child. And as it is now, it is however appalling that with that status of the child rights bill, not all states have even passed this child rights bill and implemented it. So basically, it is really important that every child is educated, that every child realizes the rights and responsibilities of every child in Nigeria is actually protected.
There you go. As an ambition to get Nigeria to reduce its huge out-of-school children is gaining momentum. With the assistance of media, our media friends who are here, when we get there.
Office of the Public and Private Development Center. What we do is we monitor procurement. We do this through making requests, FY requests to different ministry departments and agencies. And when we receive these responses, we have an open contract platform known as Dish, www.dish.ng. So all we do is to upload these contract details on our website. You can actually visit there. We have different states with different project titles. The contract on every amount. The whole idea behind this is to get citizens involved in public procurement by actually monitoring projects relating to those in your community. This is actually what led to the collaboration with Code. We have the data and they have the vast majority of community reporters. So we decided to have a partnership where we can monitor projects from our to make use of their own community reporters, and we're looking forward to a very prosperous and interesting partnership. Thank you.
As the name goes, we actually work to save children in Nigeria, or globally, but I would say because we're in about 154 countries. 2016, we launched a campaign, a global campaign titled Reach Navy Last Child. And initially in Nigeria, we wanted to focus on ending early and forced marriages, focusing on Northeast and Northwestern states. But going into the field, we also noticed and understood that girls are getting married because they're not getting educated. We came back to the drawing board in country and changed the focus of our campaign to getting girls educated. So it's now a girls' education campaign that we're running in Nigeria. So that's basically what we're focusing on our children. And what I'm going to say now is that we ask for policies to be passed. But I hope that for the first time, it's not about having a paper that will dust somewhere. But let it also be a policy that will be implemented. We worked for the National Health Act for 10 years. It has been passed. What's the stage of implementation? Let this not be a follow-on story to what has happened in the past. Let this be an act indeed that will also be implemented at the end of the day. So that's what
thank you very much.
Okay, Manuel. And I'm happy we have Leo here with us and bringing celebrities to make this message get to the people it's supposed to get to. So it's disappointing that this bill that we're seeking to amend is still where it is at the National Assembly. But then again, this is the season of election, this is the season of politics, this is the season of campaign. And we have our politicians who will be contesting for office talking about progress, even the APC now, I think they've changed their slogan from change to progress. So you see politicians talking about agriculture, youth empowerment, but they don't talk about education. So how can you make progress, as the APC is talking about their new slogan, progress, without focusing on education? So how can you make progress in a country where you have a huge population of illiterates? You can't move forward. That's like driving a car with 2 bad tires. So we're going to be having about 991 legislative offices across the state assemblies, and 360 House of Rep positions and 109 senators. These are people that are going to be making laws. As citizens and Nigerians are going to be contesting for offices, I think we should demand from these guys to make a serious commitment to education for Nigeria to get the kind of progress. I mean, I have relatives who are sadly in early years, the early years schools across the country. It's not something you want to even imagine. You go there, you wonder what are they even doing here, what kind of education are they getting there? So in this season of election that these politicians are campaigning, seeking for our votes, like she said, our vote is our power. Our power is our right. As they come out to campaign, if they don't make commitment, because this future is for the young people, so we have the highest population, we're going to be voting. So if they don't make a serious commitment to improving education in Nigeria, I think they don't deserve the votes of Nigerians. That's my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm asked to start the closing remarks, and I'm going to start the closing remarks bouncing off of what Hope has said and what the Honorable has said. It goes beyond getting policies passed. It goes beyond electing people into the office. We have to also track those commitments, how they're being done. My colleague has spoken about Budeishi, which is an open tool where we track projects. And as somebody who has tracked projects, it's a very sorry state to see that you go to the community and you see, and Sakefa can bear witness to this, where you see a project that is on paper saying completed. You go and you see that there is nothing standing, or what is standing, I won't even put my dog there. So how do we but when you go through those communities, you have people that say, well, our Honorable has done it, we are grateful. How do we translate all we do here? It's something I want us to take back home, take back to our networks, take back to our publishing papers. And it's on that note I'm going to end. How do we translate all the work, all the good work we do, all the policy work we do, all the grassroots work we do? How do we translate it to getting the average Nigerian as passionate as we are? How do we get them to go beyond, my Honorable has done it, or the next Honorable that will come will complete it, to, I want you to do this. If you don't do this, we will take steps to have you removed from that office. Thank you very much.
I think that we need to be deliberate in our approach, and without sugarcoating. Nigeria is a fragile state. And we are in a fragile state because we have not invested in education. We talk about the future. Do we actually have a future? If she is an out-of-school child rather, and she has no knowledge or no education or access to education. We talk about statistics a lot. You hear 10.5 million, 8.6 million. But today I'll mention a few names. Yesterday I was privileged to meet her and two other of her colleagues. I met Philip Danladi. He's 12 years old. He has finished primary school, but he cannot further his education. And Philip wants to be an army officer. How can he be an army officer if he does not go to school? I met Hafsat Adamu. Hafsat Adamu is 12 years old. She wants to be a medical doctor, but she's currently not going to school. And lastly, I met Alheri Francis. He's a smart, young 13-year-old boy. He speaks good English, interestingly, but he's not in school. And he wants to be an army officer also, interestingly. So beyond talking about statistics, these are human beings. These are children. Not just numbers. And we need to start deliberately telling policymakers that these are not just numbers. These are children. And they need to go to school. And for them to go to school, we must amend the Universal Basic Education Act and ensure that compulsorily 12 years is non-negotiable. Our education is in crisis. It's quite sad that Adamu said he was going to declare a state of emergency, but up till now, he's not saying so. I think as civil society, as the media, we need to say it as it is. We're in a crisis situation. The other day, Bill Clinton visited Nigeria and he made a statement that we've been making, but no one took us serious. He said we have not been investing in education, particularly on young people. Are we still going to wait for someone that is not part of us to tell us what our problems are? Are we serious to move forward as a country? In 2015, we started this partnership with PPDC. And interestingly, we did a collaborative preliminary visit to Plateau State. And I tell you, most times we're the one that break the news to the communities. I remember in Plateau, on paper, there's a 9 million naira to rehabilitate their primary school. But they were not aware, they were not informed. So how do you expect them to demand when they don't know? It was PPDC and Follow the Money that told them, do you know that this school has a 9 million naira federal government intervention? And they were all surprised. But today that school is completed because we were able to track the proceedings. In Delta State, it was 9.5 million and we broke the news to them. In Bauchi State, it was 7.1 million. And if you go across the country, you'll see the same thing. But then most communities don't know. I think it is our responsibility, not just informing them, but amplifying their voices. In 2017, with our partnership with PPDC, we visited the 6th geopolitical zone, doing work around healthcare, primary healthcare services and education. And on our report, we successfully tracked $1 million. I'm not sure what numbers you use when you convert into naira, but in dollars we were able to track $1 million. But then, moving forward, what next? I know for the fact that Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara is an education advocate, but it's not about Yakubu Dogara. It's not about the National Assembly. It's about the people. Without the people, there's no government. I think we need to start understanding that we are actually the government. And tomorrow, our children would ask us. Philip Danladi would ask. Hafsat would ask. Alheri would ask, what did you do? And this goes to our media partners. You have all the access you can think of. I think now is the time for you to use that goodwill and access to go and ask our lawmakers, why is it taking you forever to pass the Universal Basic Amendment Act? Mind you, once it's passed in the House of Representatives, it has to be harmonized by the Senate. and the House of Rep before it's sent for presidential assent. And these things take time. There's a lot of bureaucracy and politics around it. I think that now is an opportunity for you to help us beam that light and truly tell these young people that at the end of the tunnel, there is hope, or else we have no future to go to. I would like to end by thanking you all for coming and to tell you that we should see this as an opportunity to write our names in gold. Because life would happen. Someday Hamza will cease to exist. But I want people to say that while I was alive, at least I fought for something. And I believe we are all living and fighting for something. And let's make that something education. Thank you.
Before he concluded, I was going to build on what he said. We agree in Nigeria that our youth are unemployable. How many of you agree? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Don't be shy. Let's not lie. But there's a reason for that. When I first moved, I used to get angry a lot. Why are you not employable? You don't have a job. You get a job, you can't keep the job. You don't have good work ethics. You don't have good time management. You don't know anything. But that's because nobody invested in education, right? And we need to teach our youth how to think and not what to think. Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon we can use to save our world. And I think it's really, really important that we build on it. I think we need to highlight the benefits of education. Leo, make sure you let the people know that education is sexy. They need to know that education is cool, education is fun. Don't just sit here, touching your nose, making it look as though, yeah, I'm here for another engagement. I am dead serious. No, I am alive and serious. I'm serious about it. They need to understand that education is fun. It's a weapon. It's something you can use to improve your life. And the more all of us raise awareness about it. I love that, yes, we can raise awareness on social media. But like he said, we need to go out there. We are the future. And the future is today. The future is now. Thank you.
She wants quality education. I think the only, if not for anything, let's give her quality education.
In the spirit of the SDGs, in the next 50 to 60 years, I'm not sure any of us sitting in this room, will still be relevant as it were. They are going to be the future we're looking at. Very quickly, we want to say thank you for coming. We want to thank all our media partners for coming. We want to thank all the members of coalition working around education. We want to thank PPDC, for opening up their doors for us to work together. We want to thank everybody. Leo, thank you for coming. I thank myself too for coming.